There we go. Today's webinar is embracing technology and how to help step up your game. Like I mentioned earlier, technology seems to be, I guess, not a close allied of our industry, but it is definitely moving in that direction. So we wanted to hit on all those things today. If you haven't been to one of our webinars before, my name is Thad Wittenberg. I've been in the industry just over 30 years or so. I started when I was really, really young. But I'm very passionate about the kitchen and bath industry too. So the law of diffusion of innovation. If you've seen some of the earlier blogs, you may have noticed you've seen this before. It's really what we are looking at here is how kitchen and bath dealers are embracing technology as far as change is concerned. So we're going to run a little poll and just see where everybody falls. Whether you're an innovator in technology in that first 2.5%, or an early adopter, or the early majority, late majority, or laggards. I think most of the people I've worked with are running in the late majority or laggards, but let's see where you guys show up as far as the poll is concerned. So let's just take a quick minute, if you don't mind, clicking on that. Then we'll share the results. The polls are open. Thank goodness the elections are over. If I saw one more of those ads, I think I was going to go crazy. Wow, it was just way too much. All right, we've got a couple of them in, and we're just getting the polls finished out. Okay.
Only half have voted.
Only half of you have voted. I know you can't decide where you fall. This is going to be a big life-changing decision, so think about it carefully before you decide where you're going to land on the bell curve. Okay. All right, we're going to have the poll results come up now. It looks like we had 0 in the innovator, 44% as early adopters. That's great. I have a good group on here today. Another 33 were early majority, and then 22 were the late majority. We did a morning session, and a lot of the folks were more in the late majority and laggards. So I think the 2 p.m. group must be an advanced group. So anyway, thanks for filling that out, and let's move right into it. I did want to just briefly talk about our sponsors today. Design Services, we're sponsoring this ourselves today. We do designs in 2020, Pro Kitchens, Chief Architect. The reason I bring that up is because it's our fastest growing segment of services right now. And a lot of kitchen and bath dealers are getting capped out because their designers can only do so much, and talent is very limited out there right now. So I would encourage you to go to our website if you get a chance and see if, you can see our prices and stuff. And it doesn't mean that the designers stop designing. It just means that they don't have to do all the designs themselves. And then the other co-sponsor today is Cabs, which is the software that we've rolled out. We've got a number of dealers who are using it now. I'm going to do a 1-minute video on it, and then I promise we are moving right into the webinar. The kitchen and bath industry is changing. We need to adapt and innovate, or we're going to be left behind.
But there's a lot going on out there. There's this chaos that swirls around us. We're all trying to find our path, and how do we stay relevant in the future?
I see what's out there. It's very antiquated. People are using Excel spreadsheets and job folder, manual folders out there. Nothing's electronic, and none of these existing systems communicated with each other.
Client names and addresses here. We have orders here. We have follow-up here. I mean, it's just a mess.
So we developed this software called CAB, which is Kitchen and Bath System, to solve that problem. So what it does is integrate every step of the process that you have with customers, starting with your CRM that's out there.
Ability to integrate 2020, our designs, ordering, project management, the customer relationship module, visual.
It also does electronic job management, cost accounting for your projects. Then it moves into customer aftercare. We've built relationships across the industry. We know what works and what doesn't work. And now we're excited about the future.
All righty. I'm going to be a shooting star after that video. No, I don't think I missed my calling. Hey, okay, so the next thing I want to do is give everybody a quick update, some industry news if you haven't heard. ACPI, which is Echelon and Serenade, have acquired the Elkay Wood Products brand, which is Yorktown and Medallion and Designcraft and Mastercraft. So that has raised them up into a close second, I think, right around where Masco is. And so we're continuing to see consolidation with the manufacturers. And between these four, they make up $5.5 billion in cabinet sales, which is about almost 50%. And again, we're going to start seeing more and more of that continue to happen. That will have an impact, I think, on the kitchen and bath dealers as there's fewer manufacturers who have consolidated. I also truly believe that we're going to see more consolidation as far as dealers are concerned. There's currently, they estimate about 20,000 kitchen and bath dealers in the United States. I think in the next 3 and definitely 5 years, that number is going to be reduced by about 30%. The reason being is, you know, we've got the online companies that are continuing to grow, like the Click Studios, which could be, you know, at 70 million in sales, and Cabinets.com, which is growing. You're going to see other players get involved in the game, as far as like Amazon or Wayfair or any of the, I mean, there's going to be a lot of different channel breakers in the future. And I think the kitchen and bath dealers that are going to survive and thrive in the future are going to be the ones that are going to be embracing technology. So that's an update on that. Just a quick overview. We're going to go over VR designs from 2020. We have a special guest today. And the one thing that I find very interesting is that currently everybody has access to it that has a 2020 design license, but only 2 to 3% of people are using their panoramic or VR option that they have out there. And so many other businesses, which we're going to talk about next, are already using that, and customers are becoming a much more, their expectations are, hey, this is what I saw somewhere else, why don't you have it? And then the last part we're going to be hitting on is technology, from digital measuring design options to software that can run your business from start to finish. So, all right, let's move into the 2020 how-to presented by Billy Smith. So we're going to turn the screen over to Billy and let him take it from here. Are you with us, Billy?
I am. Thank you very much.
Awesome. And your screen's up, so everything's working well.
Perfect. We get better in the afternoon, I guess. I'd like to introduce myself as an innovator. So I guess that's that top box, but I didn't get a chance to vote. So what we're going to be covering here is the 360 panoramic views in 2020, and also the ability to take those and use them with a VR headset. So in order to access the panoramic, the first thing we need to do is bring up a rendering. So you can do that using any of the icons here, or if you have a preset view saved, you can just load that up. Once that's loaded, you then, in order to control the quality of what you end up creating, there's a few options that you would want to look at. One would be the lighting. And here you can control the sun, the ceiling, the scene, and adjust those to what you would like them to be. Unlike the high quality renderings in 2020, we recommend for the pano that you actually turn the sun off because when you have the sun and you have the reflection and the light coming in with the 360, it's very difficult to get a good rendering, and it just basically takes longer and decreases the quality. The other thing to look at is under settings is what quality selection you have selected. So you have low, medium, and high, and depending what you have set here will determine both the quality. So it impacts the how straight the lines are, so you don't get that staircase effect on lines. But it also obviously has an impact on the speed it takes to do the rendering. So if you were on low, and we're going to do it for this kitchen, it would probably take us just a couple minutes to generate the rendering, the panel. Whereas if you go up to high, it can take 25 or 30 minutes to generate it. So again, I'm going to just select low. The next step is to launch the panel or the 360. And you can do that from the shortcut up on the top of your ribbon, or you can go to File and choose Save as 360 Panel. When you do that, it comes up with a little preview window, and I'll just move it to the side so that you can see. And with this, you're able to control your viewer position of what you want that default position to be. And you're also able to control the camera height, the clipping, and the quality, including global illumination. The quality here, it's a second process or step on the quality selection. So the first one was under the gear. This one also will impact the quality of what you end up creating, and depending on which option you choose will also have an impact on how long it takes to create. When you choose, and I'll just select low here, and then I'll leave the global illumination on. Once you go to publish, the design info dialog comes up. And here, if you haven't already filled it out, it requires you to set a few mandatory fields, including the designer name and information, and also information on the customer, including the email address. Most users currently using the panel, rather than put the customer's email address, they put their own address. Please don't put my address. I don't want 1,000 emails with the panels, but they put their own address, and then once they receive it and they look at it and they say, okay, that is exactly what I want to share with my customer, they can then just take the URL and send it to the customer in a nice email or however they want to share it. So when I choose send, now what the system is doing is it's the first step is creating the 3D models, and then after that it's going to go and process there's 6 steps, which is basically 6 different renderings, including a top and bottom view, that will then together merge to create that 360 panel. Now, because we chose low in the rendering dialog, and we also chose the lowest quality within the panoramic dialog, the process is relatively quick. So right now it's doing the global illumination for the first step, and then it'll start on step 1 of 6. And you can see by the indicator bar for step 1 of 6, it's going across relatively fast, even on the webinar, where each step will probably take somewhere between 30 seconds and a minute. Each step, the time it takes to do it is a little bit different. It depends on how much information or models are in that area of the design. So right now it's doing it probably, this direct look onto the kitchen. As it rotates around, there's less information for it to process, so that ends up going quicker. So rather than continuing this, I'll just stop this, and I'll toggle over to basically what that end result was. So this is the lowest quality that you're able to do. And once you have that up, you're able, on your screen, you're able to rotate. Now you'll notice it's a little bit fuzzy, and especially if you do any type of zoom, it gets a little bit more fuzzy. In some of the other renderings or panels that I'll show you, you'll see that that's much clearer, and that's because the settings were set to a higher level. Now, even if you are going to do the higher level panels, it probably makes sense to start off by doing the lowest quality to make sure that everything looks good. The lighting effect is what you want to get, and the overall appearance of it is good. Then you can go back and invest the more time it takes to create the higher end panos. So an example of some of the higher end panos. So I mean, here are a few, and most of these are available directly off of our website. So I mean, I can just show you a couple. And in addition to manually going around, you also have the ability to use the auto rotate, and it'll just scroll through the room. And obviously, most important is if you send this URL and you load it up on a smartphone, you have the ability then to select the VR option. So if you do have a VR headset, whether it's cardboard or plastic or even an Oculus headset, you can put the phone into the system and see it in more of a virtual reality or a more immersive experience, so that as you turn with the headset on, it feels more like you're standing in the middle of that kitchen and just rotating around. I think that covers the majority of what we're doing as far as the VR and the 360s are concerned.
If anybody has any questions, please go ahead. You can raise your hand, open your mic, however you'd like to communicate. I think it's a great way to enhance the experience for customers when you use this option from 2020. Does anybody have any questions? Well, Billy, apparently you did an excellent job. You were very thorough because there's no questions to be had.
Okay, one thing I'd just like to add is that option and I'll just bring up my rendering dialog again. That option for the 360, everyone has access to it as long as you're on maintenance and support. There's no additional charge or fee in order to use this. You can create as many as you like. The other thing is the headsets that you would use. There's a lot of extremely economical options that are available. My personal recommendation is not to use cardboard, because I find that with the cardboard, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to get the phone to stay at the correct angle. And if it just tilts a little bit off of the correct angle, you still see it. It's just you lose a lot of the quality. So you can get very small, compact ones about the size of a phone, plastic VR sets for $20, and they work absolutely perfect. Of course, if you go with higher end models, especially like the Oculus VR headsets, they're a lot more expensive, but the quality is a little bit better as well.
Hey, Billy, so we did have a question.
Awesome.
Deb, I've unmuted you if you would like to ask a question.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
You mentioned that you create a link that can be shared with the client. How long does that link exist or last?
Okay. Right now, it lasts forever. So it's just storage on the cloud. But there's probably going to be a point where we flush them. But when we do, what we'll do is we'll send you basically a copy or the ability to download any of those 360 panoramic views onto your own system, so you can use it whenever you want. Which you can do now, by the way. So when you send, and I hate doing this, but I'm going to open up my email. So I apologize if there's there's not going to be anything inappropriate, but when you generate that pano, there's two emails that get sent out. So one email is the one that goes to the customer, and it basically looks like this. And I just put in silly stuff here, and it has a link to the pano. But the one that also goes to you, the designer, includes the ability to download that automatically for offline viewing.
Okay, that's great. And then you said that that's only available as long as you keep up your maintenance.
Correct.
Okay.
The link would still work. Like, I mean, like if you've created something and then you decide, hey, I want to go off maintenance, which you should never do. That's not a good thing. But if you did decide to do that, those links that you already created, you would still have them and you could still continue to use them.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Great. All right. Thanks.
Awesome. One other thing, because we like I know Thad said 3%. We'll say it's about that, but I think it's a little bit higher. It grows every day, the percentage of people using it. But one of the things that we find is we have a couple of different ways that people are using it. So one way is people are trying to create the highest quality panos that they can, whether it's for particular customers or whether it's for, let's say, before and after portfolios that they're doing. But we have other customers that stick more to the lowest quality settings, and they just feel that it's something that they can generate on average in 3 to 5 minutes and share with a customer. And although it can be a little bit fuzzy and not the best quality, it's still an immersive experience that their customers are enjoying. And that's all I have.
I think there's one more question, Billy.
Awesome.
Joseph, I've unmuted you.
Joseph, are you there?
Yeah.
You're live. We can hear you.
Oh, sounds good. I just ended up just typing the question in. I was just asking, is there any issues in creating the panoramic with a lot of cloud-based items added to your design? The reason I ask that is because I've noticed that the program slows down substantially when you add a lot of detail or cloud-based items.
Yeah. So there's a couple answers to that. There's one answer, I guess, but there's a couple of factors. So when you're adding cloud-based items, you're going to see a slowdown in 2020 in general if you have the 3D shapes turned on. So on the floor plan and on the elevation, if you have the 3D shapes turned on, it definitely slows it down significantly. If you go to preferences, though, excuse me, and you go to work area and you disable those 3D shapes, you're gonna find the performance increase significantly. That's the first thing. The second thing is when you do the actual renderings, whether you have items from the cloud or you have items, let's say from SketchUp, which might be more complicated models, depending on the shape quality that you select, it's going to have an impact on both the performance, so the speed, and also on the stability of the system. The good news is that we're going to be releasing our 64-bit version in the next few months. And when we release our 64-bit version of 2020 design, the performance issues will be improved. That's the first thing. But the stability of the software, especially when it comes to doing the renderings, it's going to disappear basically because of that.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions? All right. Yeah, and I think, Billy, I may have misstated the percentage of people.
No, it's unfortunately a lot lower than we would like. So I mean, we're doing, and we appreciate what you're doing to evangelize using the feature, because unfortunately, a lot of people actually don't even know that it's there.
Right.
And one of the reasons why is when you go from one version to the next, a lot of the features and the layout of the screen is very similar. So they're used to using very specific icons and they're used to using specific features, and not everyone goes to File and says, hey, what's this doing? So I mean, anything that can get that message out, I think, is a great thing.
Okay, perfect.
Being an innovator.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I said being an innovator, I support what you're doing.
Well, I'm glad we could help, and really, hey, we appreciate your time, Billy, and you have a good afternoon, and we'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Awesome. Y'all have a wonderful day and a great rest of the seminar.
All right. Thanks, Billy. Okay. Oop. Okay. 1 second. I'm converting over. That. Okay. Wanted to talk a little bit about what else is going on in the VR and AR, virtual reality and augmented reality experience. And I guess where I wanted to start was I didn't understand a little ways back what the difference was. Virtual reality are digital images like what you see in 2020. It's, you know, the walls are digital, cabinets are digital, windows, everything you see is digital. When you get into augmented reality, it's like having real walls in your picture and then putting digital items in there. And so that's the difference between the two. I would encourage everybody. I listed out some companies that have really moved forward and invested a lot in the VR and AR experience. In fact, advances in those two areas over the last 2 years is more than the previous 30 years combined. And you can only see that accelerating. So customers are more and more going to be exposed to this. And that's obviously going to be changing their expectations. If you go out to the Lowe's and you type in their Halo room, you can see what they're doing when they have customers in the showroom and how many of them are using the goggles, and it's really neat. IKEA has an amazing virtual AR experience, really, where you can move around in the room and you have toggles and you can open doors and drawers and you can take out pots and pans, and I mean you can basically do anything. You can walk around the whole kitchen in there and see it from every angle. Wren Kitchens is doing the same thing, and you know, it's being controlled by the designer and those, but the IKEA one, you can actually walk around there yourself. And the reason I put Wayfair in there is they've been using augmented reality for a little while now, and basically you take a picture of your room, you have your camera on, and then you can start placing furniture items in there. And they also sell cabinetry, by the way. So I just wanted to kind of let everybody know where this whole virtual and augmented reality movement is going, and you're only going to see it more and more involved and engaged in customer purchases and you know, their just overall experience. And by the way, as I go through this, if you have any questions, I'm going to open the mic at the end. But I will, if you want to type something in, I can stop and answer those questions. The Canvas device, which is a digital measuring option, we bought one of those. We utilized it. It has some nice benefits. It costs about $399, and then you take the file that you've when you've scanned the room already, and you send it off to them. It's like a 48-hour turnaround. It costs $29, and then they send you back 3 different files. One of them's a DAE file, which can be downloaded right into 2020, and you can start designing from there. They also have a DWG, which is an AutoCAD file, and an SKP, which is a SketchUp file. The only downside, which is kind of a big downside, is that Canvas's accuracy is only within 1 to 2%. And so when we were measuring walls, you know, if it's 100 inches, it could come up and say it's 102 inches or 98 inches. And so in the kitchen business, obviously you can't afford to have being off that much. I mean, you can see the center of a sink measurement being off, or a number of different things. So you actually have to not only scan the room, but measure it and then confirm the measurements once they send you back the file. So it kind of takes away a little bit of the benefits of it. But that's Canvas. The other thing that recently just came out is the iOS 12. If you have a Apple phone, it'll have a measurement app on there. And it's pretty amazing. We've checked the accuracy, and it is spot on. It's less than 1/8 of an inch off. I mean, if not right on. And you can measure a wall, then take a picture of it, and then measure the next wall and take a picture of it, and so on. And then you can download the file and email it to yourself or wherever you want to keep that file on the measurements that are out there. So I think we're going to see more and more these phones gravitating towards these type of tools that they're going to have on them, whether it's homeowners or designers or whoever will be able to measure spaces within their homes with much greater accuracy. Okay, we got our second poll that's coming up here. And the second poll has to do with, because we're going to get into the software side. And the 3 questions that are on there: are you currently using a fully integrated system or multiple programs that are not linked together? Or the last option is mainly manual processes that are paper-based.
In the meantime, Catherine asked a question. What's the file format for the file you download in iOS?
Is it a file? Hi, my name is Harris. I'm here. I'm the supports person on CABS. So basically, with the Measure iOS app, there isn't a specified file. You have everything recorded when you were trying to measure, let's say, a room. But the only way you can store that data is if you take screenshots. So I guess the file is that screenshot. So if that answers your question.
And Stacy asked, does the iOS program work with the newest iPad mini?
Yes, it does. It works with the iPad and the iPhone, and basically any Apple device that has the iOS 12 update, it works on that.
Cool, thank you. Any other questions?
That's it. Only 67% have, 78% have voted.
78% of the vote is in.
Close it.
All right, we're closing the polls. And the results.
100%.
Okay, so fully integrated systems, 0%. Multiple programs not linked together, 100%. So everybody was kind of in the middle. At least the good news is nobody had any manual systems. So I want to kind of, there's a lot of different options that are out there as far as software is concerned that can run your business. Ours obviously is CABS, which is Kitchen to Bath Systems, but I also wanted to share, what other ones that are available to you. I encourage you to, check out all of them. Find out which one is the best for your business. Sen has one that's NMS. There's also Builder Trend, which you probably heard of. It's kind of a construction management. There's Co-Construct. And then there's also Breakfront with /Equilibrium. I think it used to be called Breakfront. Now it's called Equilibrium, which is another software that is available. So, and you may say, why are you sharing, if you have one yourself, why are you sharing the names of these other ones? Well, if you looked at our vision statements, which we try to stay on track with, it talks about us being passionate about providing tools and resources that will empower companies to success in tomorrow's industry. And that means that we need, if it's not a service that we don't offer or our service doesn't fit you, then we want to still make the information available to you about how where resources are and how you can improve your business. So as I go through the screenshots in here, obviously we use CABS because that's the one we have access to, but you can see these other ones that are out there if you go online and check them out. What features should an ERP system? Sometimes when people say, what's an ERP system? It's fully integrated. It means all of them are, connected with each other. And it may be that you have a software that runs your kitchen and bath business, and then you have QuickBooks, but that the two are integrated with each other. So, and the other thing I wanted to mention when it comes to software or systems that run your businesses, you have three main challenges. The first one is cost. And I'm going to go over that and what you should be looking for when you're deciding on who you would like to choose if you want to incorporate a new system. The second one is time. Time is a big one. A lot of companies don't feel like they have the bandwidth to learn a new system. And so whatever system you're looking at, you need to make sure that it's really easy. And then the last one is change. And it's amazing in our industry, even if something's very manual or very cumbersome, people just don't like change. I think I wrote in one of my blogs, it dated me, like when we went into AutoCAD to have design kitchens and people were doing hand drawings. I mean, there was so much pushback from the designers. They just, look, I could do it a lot faster by hand. And, nowadays it's few and far between that still do it that way, and everybody wants to do it, whether it's through 2020 or another design software that's out there. So there are some challenges. So again, you want to make sure that whatever system you choose, the functions are very easy to learn and you can have everybody on board with those. CRM, this has to have, be, again, very simple. Easy, you're going to be able to put notes in there. It's not only for customers, it's for vendors. Any activities that you're having with these customers, your individual notes, everything should be available in the CRM and a system that you're looking at. This is like one of the most important aspects of it. KPI reports. I noticed when I work with a lot of kitchen and bath businesses that there's very limited visibility into the performance of the company. I'll give you margin erosion as an example. It's like a bad word in our industry because everybody becomes firemen and they throw money to fix things on jobs, but we never really find out the root cause. And so a system should be able to identify what the source is, whether it's a manufacturer, whether it's the orders that are incorrect or measurements. So you have a way, because you can't fix something until you can measure it. Other KPIs, gross margin per person or closing ratios, all those things should be available through whatever system you have. Again, to give you some insight as to where you're performing, where in your business, and where you might have some opportunity. Sales management and job management, obviously, another two important aspects of the business. Sales management is showing, where your quotes are, where your margins are, what's, been proposed, what's been a contract signed on. Again, callback activity to customers should all be on your calendar. Every item that a salesperson or sales manager needs should be involved in that sales management aspect module of the system. And then job management. And job management, obviously, we want to get away from these paper files. You go to every kitchen and bath place and they all have these folders that are sitting out there. And one of these days, those folders, my hope is that they will disappear and everything will be in a computer. And anybody can look up any information on a particular customer or a sales order. They could go to a job, they'll see pictures and emails, and anything that's transpired will all be in that electronic file that's out there. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but ordering, we have 2020 integration in our system. I think others are moving in that direction. But you want, a lot of manufacturers are encouraging you to order on their site, go into their website and order. And that's nice. And they even give you discounts to do it so they don't have to pay people to enter the orders there. But the real ease of and integration should be that you can bring that order through your system, send it directly, whether it's EDI, into the manufacturer system where they can accept the order and then acknowledge it back to you. So you're both looking at the same order, both agree what it's supposed to be, cost-wise, items, everything. and then they can send it to you, hopefully with barcoding, and then being able to scan that stuff. It should have an inventory aspect to it, and then also be able to have an opportunity to be able to quote through your system. Systems integration, again, I just to backtrack a little bit on this, is that it doesn't mean that you just have one system that does everything. Like it designs kitchens, oh, it does your calendars, oh, it does your accounting functions. It means that you have to have all these integrated with each other. So if you are entering POs or invoices in your system, they should be able to flow into QuickBooks without having to do manual entries in there. That's true systems integration, and that's what you should be looking for. You know, a big reason I keep hitting on this thing is because as the more and more transparency in pricing and online sales, I still believe there's going to be margin compression. And that means that you have to be more productive and more efficient as your business continues to evolve, so that you can stay competitive out there. Last thing I won't spend a lot of time on, you know, obviously servers are kind of the older avenue of keeping your information. You should be looking for a cloud-based ERP system. It should have messaging and networking, not only inside your company, but also with customers. Okay, now we are at our last poll, and the question is, how satisfied are you with your current system? And you have three options. You have very satisfied, somewhat, or not very. I'm just kind of curious as to how you feel about what your current software is doing for you. So the polls are open and people are responding. Some people are still undecided. Some people don't want to take the poll. We're just going to give it a couple more seconds. And we are closing the poll as of now. And hey, this group is very consistent. So the number percent that were happy with the poll is 0. It's people who were somewhat happy with the system they have right now, 100%. And then not very, 0. So everybody fell into the same category again. I think there's some collusion going on here, but we're not going to report it. Anyway, so let's talk about systems and what they should be able to do for you. The three main benefits are more consistent and enhanced customer experience, productivity gains of 5% or more, and I'll show you some numbers on that, and a reduction in margin erosion by at least 1%. Margin erosion, typically with most companies, the best run companies are over 2%, just over 2%. And a majority of them run anywhere from 3 to 4 and sometimes 5% in margin erosion, which is huge. There's a lot of cost, and that's just hard cost. The other thing that I mentioned up here is your fully integrated system, this does not include your design system, should never cost you more than 1% of your overall sales. So if you're a $2 million company, you shouldn't be spending over $10,000, or I'm sorry, $20,000. That would be 1%. I really think it should be closer to 0.5%. So if you're a $2 million company, you should probably be more in the range of $8,000 to $10,000, and it could be less too. But let's see what the benefits look like. So I ran some numbers here on the first year and the return on investment. I put 2.5% productivity gains because people are just learning the system. So we took a $2 million company, 2.5% gained 50,000 in sales because they had more time and they had better follow-up. That generated about 35,000 in gross margin because we had it at a 35 margin. And then margin erosion, we did that by 0.2%, 0.5%, excuse me. And so the bottom line is that it generated almost 27,750 in additional revenue, and I put a cost in there of 0.5%, which was 10,000. I think that's probably a little bit on the high side, but the bottom line is your return was about 18,000. And then you go down to the second year, which everybody is really familiar with the system, and you gain 5%, and then you reduce margin by 1%. And you can see that's generating an extra 56,000 in additional gross margin revenue for your bottom line, minus the 10. So you're in the plus of 46,000. And I'm here to tell you, these are conservative numbers. Once you have a great system in place, you can really ramp up productivity and efficiency. The other thing is the labor market is very tight right now, and there's a lot of younger designers who are coming into the marketplace, and a lot of them retiring. And if you want to attract and retain talent, I think it's very important that you you have systems and software that they feel very good about. The world is changing very fast. Big will not beat small anymore. It will be the fast beating the slow. It's one of my favorite quotes by Rupert Murdoch. And it's true. And things are moving very fast in our industry right now. So, and that is it. So we are in Q&A right now. And if you'd either like to write in a question or we can open your mic, please raise your hand.
Catherine has a question.
Hi, Catherine. Do you open a mic?